Welcome back to We the Governed, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of running for local office and some of the key and critical things you can do when you do run for public office, when you get in there. And when I say local, what I'm talking about is everything from school board, city council, things like that. And I think sometimes it's best just to go in the field and actually talk to people who are out there, showing up, making a difference where they live. And I'm so honored to have in the studio with me today, Randy Hayden, school board member, and talking about what it's like to show up and make a difference in public office. So why don't, for our viewers, why don't you just tell me what office you serve in right now and what got you involved in running for the school board?
So I am currently a school board director for the Darrington School District. The journey to get me here started quite a few years back. Let's say we'll go back to '08. The Tea Party movement was there at the first gathering at Pioneer Square with Miss Liberty Bell and.
Oh, you were there at the original meeting?
I was at the original meeting.
Yeah,
so yeah, it was Carrie Carrender, Miss, AKA Miss Liberty Bell, was there. Shortly after, I was part of one of the organizers of one of the biggest Tea Party groups in the Puget Sound area. So that kind of got me into the politics. Became a PCO, Precinct Committee Officer, shortly afterwards.
Okay.
That
in Snohomish County, right?
In Snohomish County, yes, in the 32nd Legislative District, as we know, is a tough place to be a Republican. So I got involved with the Snohomish County Republican Party. 2015, I was elected as their state committeeman. Was put on the executive board for the Washington State Republican Party. I served 4 terms on the executive board. My last 3 terms, I was appointed to the state chairman of the resolution committee. So deeply involved in politics.
Well, and wonkish policy issues, right?
Because and wonkish, exactly. So a lot of stuff going on with resolutions, and you're right, very
Robert Rules of Order and
Robert's Rules, yes, a whole lot of, and being involved at this level, there was a lot of very sharp people that knew Robert's Rules, so to maneuver your way through, it was a very big learning lesson. Which was very interesting and very fun and very challenging. So I'm kind of a person that loves a challenge, and because a challenge always makes you stronger.
Right.
So
you went from there, and then you decided, I'm going to go and get on the school board as a path to making a difference.
Well, being involved in politics, you're always pushing candidates, finding good candidates.
Right.
2020, we had the whole COVID, and we ended up with 2 of our grandkids that were at that time, I believe they were in 3rd and 5th grade. And because they couldn't go to school, they would be at our place, and we would watch them doing their Zoom meetings.
Ah, yes, you got to see behind the curtain.
And behind the curtain, and it was so pathetic what we were seeing.
Right.
And so that was 2020. In 2021, I ran for school board, was elected, and
for which school district now?
The Darrington School District, small conservative town. And I ran very outspoken on very conservative values.
And for our viewers, explain where Darrington's located in Washington.
Darrington, if you know where Seattle is, and I'm sure you do, we're about an hour-and-a-half drive with no traffic northeast. If you know where Arlington is, we're 30 miles straight east of Arlington on Highway 530.
It's kind of tucked up against the Cascades.
Small town, really, we've got mountains on 3 sides of us.
Okay.
Inside the city limits, 1,400 people, so small town. A lot of us live outside.
Sure.
The school district is pretty big. It covers quite a large area, goes all the way up into Skagit County. So.
And you have, and in your school district, there's 5 members of your school board, right? So now you're elected as one of them. And how many students are in your school district, roughly?
We've got, we average anywhere between 400 to 420. So fairly small.
Sure.
But I mean, we've got smaller school. There's school districts, you know, where we're talking 26 kids. So
Sure. You're not quite that small.
Not
but you're
quite
not the
that
Seattle
small.
School District with
Yes.
tens of thousands. So,
yes. So, yeah, got elected a school board.
Okay.
Being, you know, with being plugged in around the state,
Right.
with the politics I'd been involved in, I got introduced to a Liberty group, which had a bunch of school board directors, but a lot of other outside entities.
Right.
And I saw this as a very good opportunity to take these school board members and create a group inside of WSSDA. So WSSDA is the Washington State School Directors Association.
Yep.
Every elected school board member has to be a member of WSSDA.
Right.
Your school district pays to WSSDA,
Right.
and that's based on how many kids in your school district, but there's a lot of money, tax dollars that go from the school to WSSDA.
Yeah, and so just for clarity, I know when I was on the school board myself too, the school district pays, and these are tax dollars that are supporting the school district, but they pay to be a member of WSSDA, and they pay for every member of their school board then to be officially a member, and then each school district is allowed to send somebody to the WSSDA meetings. Explain what got you interested in doing that.
Well, the WSSDA meetings. So my school, not to knock my school district, but they were not being involved in WSSDA.
And they're hardly alone in that. There's a large
No,
number
and you're
that
right.
don't.
There's probably half the school districts around the state do not really function with WSSDA, and there's
Right.
various reasons, and we could spend a whole lot of time talking about that. But you know, I found out that, you know, about WSSDA being a member, so I started doing the digging,
Right.
and found that you know, every school district is supposed to have a legislative rep
Right.
for their district. So when I found that next meeting, I said, hey, who's our legislative rep, and if we don't have one, can I be it?
Sure.
So, which I was unanimously voted. You know, being involved in politics, every one of our legislatures in the area where we're at in the 39th, I had helped win election. So it was kind of a no-brainer that I should be the legislative rep. I was elected legislative rep, did more digging, and found out, hey, WSSDA has this general conference
Right.
where they vote on positions.
Right.
You know, well, my school district had not been involved.
And for clarity's sake, I mean, the positions that WSSDA actually votes on they directly impact the school boards all around the state of Washington, because they're essentially lobbying on behalf of those school boards for those policies.
Exactly. So WSSDA has their head lobbyist who works with the legislatures, and when they're passing bills like they're doing right now as we speak.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
When they're discussing bills, and if it has anything to do with education, they come to WSSDA and say, well, does WSSDA support this, or are they against it?
Right.
So WSSDA goes through their past positions and to justify, do we support it or do we not support it?
Right.
So being the legislative rep, you know, you're the one voting on the different positions that directly affect your school district.
Right. And there's a total of, 293 school districts, is that right? Or
295
school districts, yeah.
around the state.
Yep.
So
technically you'd have 295 of them there to discuss these policy positions.
well, technically you would. So my first General Assembly I went to,
Right.
there was, if I remember right, and that was in 2022, because I was elected in 21, so
Right.
it wasn't till
Next year, yeah.
I missed the first, you know,
Right.
because I didn't even know our school district was involved. They didn't know
Sure.
about, you know, what was going on. So 2022, I believe there was 121 school districts that participated in the General Assembly passing. So a lot of, you know, there was 145 positions, and I went through them.
When you say positions, you mean policy positions that they had there.
Well, their quote, their positions.
Right.
Roughly half of them are legislative positions,
Okay.
and the other half are just WSSDA positions. And this is what they look at when they're deciding how WSSDA, how they're going to make recommendations to, say, legislatures,
Okay.
or even to OSPI stuff that's coming.
And OSPI stands for Office Superintendent of Public
Office of,
Instruction.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, with all these going through, and a lot of them are just simple no-brainers, let's pass. But, some of them, there was a lot of debate
Right.
going back and forth. What I found out in 2022 is that the larger school districts, which tend to be liberal, they had something what was called a weighted vote.
Right.
Technically, you would think, one school district, one vote, and it's pretty cut and dry.
Right.
But 15 times in 2022, they called for a weighted vote. It would take 5 school districts to call for a weighted vote. Then they would there would be debate again.
Right.
Then you would vote again, and the vote was weighted by the amount of kids in your school district.
Right.
So long story short, the 16 biggest school districts in the state can control the outcome of a WSSDA position.
Which is essentially then all the policies are dictated by just these big districts. Is what you're saying.
Yes, in
Yeah.
fact, we
That's what you discovered.
We saw positions that passed like 55% plus,
Right.
and then they called for the weighted vote, and then they failed miserably, like 74%.
Right. So that was
So
how they were
a big
influencing.
swing, and which then kind of opened my eyes. Well, gee, maybe this is why all these small school districts don't even waste their time participating. So 15 times they called for the weighted vote.
Right.
14 times it overturned
The
vote,
original
the original
vote. Okay.
vote.
And that's going to matter a lot. I want to get into how that affects things in the second interview that we do today. But
Okay.
the one thing I want, if you could explain things, because a lot of my viewers that watch We the Govern, they want to get involved in local processes and political processes or something. And the school board's really that kind of that local, closest level. Everybody who lives in Washington State lives in a school district somewhere. Even if you're not in the city, even if you live rurally, like you and I do, right? We're outside of the city. But even there, that's one of your intros to getting involved, and that's 42% of the state budget. It's all going into education one way or the other, and that's your initial step, I think, in getting involved. But explain just from your experience as a new school board member and why it's so important to have good people run for an office like that.
Well, it's the school board passes policies.
Right.
And we've got a lot of stuff going on right now where our elected officials in Olympia, mainly the Democrats that control, are writing RCWs right now to strip school board directors of their say and stuff, because there's a lot of stuff going on that the directors do policy-wise, as far as passing policies that then have to be implemented by the school district. I think the biggest thing that the directors, they're responsible for the hiring and firing of the superintendent.
Yep.
And that is probably one of the biggest responsibilities, because hopefully, they can hold their superintendent accountable for what's going on in the school district.
Yeah, I mean, you hire a bad one, and it's a continuous fight after that and trying to get them on track.
So I've been working with directors all over the state, and I hear horror stories.
Sure you do. Yeah.
I
We all
will
did.
say,
Yeah.
I will say I'm very lucky.
Sure.
I think our district has a really good superintendent that I can work with. So, but yeah, I'm hearing some really.
Well, and you have some influence on curriculum, right? You have some influence on budget, certainly contracts and how your money's spent.
Yes.
You get to determine I always felt the one thing we could do, and when I was on the Rochester School District, was we could influence the spending priorities in a way that made it more efficient for the people who live in our community and still serve the needs of the kids in the school district. So how do you feel like your experience has been in that area working on your school board?
Well, it's the school board passes policies. And we've got a lot of stuff going on right now where the where our elected officials in Olympia, mainly the Democrats that control, are writing RCWs right now to strip school board directors of their say and stuff, because there's a lot of stuff going on that the directors do policy-wise, as far as passing policies that then have to be implemented by the school district. So the biggest thing that the directors, they're responsible for the hiring and firing of the superintendent. And that is probably one of the biggest responsibilities, because hopefully, they can hold their superintendent accountable for what's going on in the school district. I think the biggest problem we see with most school board directors that get elected, they don't know what they're stepping into.
Right.
And they don't have all the knowledge they need to be an effective school board director, and I think that's the biggest problem. To be an effective school board director, to do it right, it's probably a full-time job.
Right.
As you know,
big stacks of paper that they hand you for every meeting. Yeah.
So yeah, my first. So when I was elected, this funny story. When I was elected, they certified the election at 12:30. About an hour later, I get a call from my superintendent. Congratulations on winning. There's a packet, you need to swing by and pick up. See you at the meeting tonight at 6:30.
Yeah, right into it.
150-page packet.
Right.
So yeah, there's a whole lot there for school directors to go through.
Yep.
I get paid, $50 a meeting, so it's obviously not a job you're going to make money on. And if you have a conscience and you want to do it right, you're going to be spending a whole lot of time looking into the issues, reading the policies. That there's usually anywhere from 3 to 8 policies, and some of these policies can be as many as 10 pages long.
Sure.
And to fully read through this and understand what you're voting for or what you don't want to vote for.
Right.
And unfortunately, what I found that a lot of directors are just there rubber stamping.
Sure.
They don't spend the time. The superintendent says, oh yeah, this is a good policy, pass it, and it just gets pushed on through.
Right.
And then they don't realize until there's something that happens down the road that jumps out at them.
And you'll realize, why did I pass that policy?
Why did I? Yeah. So I did.
Sure.
I passed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened to all of us, where we had a policy that we didn't want, and you have to go back and try to strip it out, which is always a little bit more fun. If you had any recommendation for somebody, and I think we'll just kind of close this part of the interview with this part, what would your recommendation be for somebody who's considering getting into being prepared so they can run for the school district where they live right now?
Well, for starters, they just need to start showing up to school board meetings and listening to the parents. I think that's the biggest thing, is listening to the parents, listening to the concerns of what's going on. I know where I live, I get quite often have parents reach out to me. It seems like the favorite way is through Facebook Messenger.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Small town. Everyone
yeah.
knows, and I get constantly people question me on stuff as far as what's going on.
Sure.
There's so many different issues, but I would say if you're really thinking about running, you need to go to the meetings. You need to look at the policies. You need to talk to the parents and really find out what your community needs,
right.
what the parents are thinking. I found a lot of school directors, they're kind of following what the superintendent. I always, and I say this quite often in my school board meeting, I'm here to represent the people that elected me.
Right.
I'm not here to represent WSSDA, OSPI, the superintendent. I'm here to represent the people that elected me. So get involved, talk to the people, run a good campaign. And you need to stick to the issues,
right.
Stick to the middle ground, and no distractions. And I would love to help anyone who thinks they're a good candidate. Please reach out to me.
Okay. And I'll put your contact information in the bottom of the video, if that's okay, in the video description.
No, that would be great.
Okay, we'll do it there.
That.
So I think what we'll do is we're going to go into part 2 on this. I want to make sure that we talk about what your experience is with WSSDA and the weighted voting that we discussed, because I think there's a great story that our listeners would really appreciate. So we're going to close this video right now. We're going to end this part of the interview, but please stay tuned for part 2 as we talk to Randy Hayden about the experience that he had in dealing with weighted voting in WSSDA that affects pretty much every district in the state, and just that experience and the ability to make an impact with other like-minded people where he lives. And as I always say in all my videos, the future belongs to those who show up. Randy showed up, and he's going to tell us what he's been able to do by showing up. Thank you so much for watching.